Hey guys, I've had a few anniversaries recently, and they were the anniversaries of children who I was the guardian of passing away. And I just want to make this very brief message. At this time on the planet, I think one of the things that it's exposed in many persons around me is our dreadful relationship with death. Now, I've had to learn a lot these last years dealing with death as a part of my life. And somehow it's different. I've spoken to doctors and nurses, and they always said to me, John, it's very different for us because it's a patient and we don't have the deep bond isn't there. It still hurts, it's still hard. He said, but it's another level for you. You know, you've woke up every morning with some of these children and you've said goodnight to them and you've grown to love them as a father, and they've died. And some have died after a long and arduous, what seemed to be probably quite a painful battle, unfortunately. And I just wanted to briefly say, you know, there's no risk-free life. We can't have a risk-free life, and I think many people, they don't grasp that. They want obviously to spend as much time with their loved ones as possible, and I do too. But at the same time, I also understand that when it's our time, it's our time. That the only guarantee you have is you're not getting out of this alive. It's the only guarantee for all of us. And when I look back at my memories with these children, I'm so grateful for the enrichment in my life that I had from them. And I've had children who passed very quickly and painlessly, one of which died in my arms, called Wanyama, who we all loved very, very much, but it was just his time. And I'm at peace with the fact that I know he's at peace. And then there's other children where I have the brutal nature of life exposed to me, but I also see the valiant nature of the children like Johanna, who fought in intensive care for more than a week against pneumonia. And he just lost his battle. But he fought, and it showed me how valuable life is to us and how resilient our bodies can actually be. And I wished he hadn't had any pain and a battle like that. But even in his battle, at least he knew that everybody around him was there supporting and loving him. And he knew how valued he was. And then sadly last year when I was sick and I was stuck in bed, Christina, who was one of the third special needs child, well, the second, her and her sister moved in together, special needs child to move in, died after a long stint in hospital. She always had chest problems from the day I met her. Number one cause of death, the cerebral palsies, chest-related issues globally. And yeah, I miss the presence of these children. I miss knowing that when I go back to Tanzania, they'll be there. But I've got these memories, and they have such value. And what value they add, aside from the fact I'm grateful that of all the time that ever will be and has been, and of all the places on this floating rock of ours, that somehow we managed to cross paths and share a space in that time, and that it will never be repeated. It was original. It was a one-off expression between us, and a union of energy that will never repeat. And I'm happy I got to do that. And above all, I realized that if we had lived together for 1,000,000 years or more, we might well have not realized how valuable that experience is. We might have not realized just how valuable it is that we live and we die. We might not have realized how valuable it is that we are alive together, because there'd almost be no end to it. And thus you get bored of each other. There's only so much you can do in the form that we have. There's only so much you can share. And I would hate for the love and the enjoyment of my life with those that I love to become diminished because I'm living too long. I'm living 1,000,000 years. You understand this. You would get tired of it. We get on each other's nerves as families as it is, with only 80 to 100 years. Imagine 1,000,000. So I make peace with death. And above all, I accept it as absolutely necessary, because every good feeling I've had out of my life, every sense of gratitude and health and wonder and joy, it's all amplified when you understand that death is a part of your life. It's all amplified that you get this one chance to express right here, right now, as who you are. And I think what I'm seeing is many people have not made a relationship with death. Many people hide from it. They don't like to think about it. Many people think somehow you might just be there with your eyes closed and unable to move, and you're locked away in the dark forever. But this is just crazy. So I don't fear it. I really don't. And I think a lot of the tension and anxiety around the world at the moment is, if not a fear, which many it is a fear, it's an uncertainty. And at least all I can say is that I have absolute certainty that those who pass, they don't go. And they're not locked away in the dark. And I'll end by telling you one brief tale about Emmanuel. Emmanuel hit me very hard. Imagine a child dying in your arms that you've cared for a while. But an hour before, I was pushing him in a hammock and watching him giggle and smile. An hour later, I was living in a nightmare. Died in my arms, you know. And Fritzi was not in Tanzania at the time. She was in Germany visiting family, and she flew straight back to be with me because she knew how upset I was. And we were out all day dealing with the mortuary and funeral arrangements, like a day after he passed away. And we both came home that night. And it was 10:30 at night, dark outside. And lo and behold, my house, which was locked up, the doors were closed, the windows were closed, the mosquito nets were shut. There were 8 butterflies flying around in our house. 8. And I just said to Fritzi, he's okay. You know, he's okay. This is it. I've never seen it before, I'll never see it again, I'm sure. I just said, he's okay. He's fine. Wherever he is, he's at peace. And I knew what it was. And those are just the children that I've said goodbye to. You all know I had a friend murdered who was pregnant recently as well. Well, not that recently. Recent enough that it still leaves a scar on my heart. So it's not the death sometimes that troubles our hearts, it's the way it happens. It's the pain people endure to get to that point. And that's sad. But I also know if I didn't have pain, I wouldn't value my health when it returns. So just remember, there's no risk-free life, and there's a need for it not to be risk-free. Because if it were risk-free and it was a perfect world, whatever that might look like, according to our human need to have a risk-free world, would we even want to live there? I'm not sure I would. Anyway, in loving memory, God bless. Bye.
To my murder, I didn't die alone. I found you. Is what it is, we say. No one should lose a friend that way. Is what it is, we say. No one should lose a friend that way. No one should lose a friend that way. Man in the maze, or is it in me? I heard the vulture pray before he eats. I'll make it right, my friend. This ain't goodbye, my friend. Climb up that ladder, I'll see